Ni hao, pimps! In the 2000s, street racing games were the cool thing. Every developer and publisher jumped on the train and made some games. We had illegal street racing in a form of Need for Speed, Extreme Chaos with the Burnout and Flatout titles, and some sick gambling in the form of Juiced. Racing games with softcore porn, and highway racing in the form of Tokyo Extreme Racer franchise. Those all had varied successes. Some sold more, some sold less, and some were even a miracle that released whatsoever. However, when it comes to the arcade racers, one title stood above them as a trailblazer of illegal street racing: Midnight Club. But first, I have to talk about Angel Studios. Angel Studios started off as a studio that made computer animation for movies, most notably, The Lawnmower Man. Yep, that mindfuck of a movie had animations done by the fellas that would later make this franchise. To get back to Angel Studios a bit more, in the late 90s they started creating video games, with the team being a support studio that did mostly contract work on animations and cutscenes. In '97, Angel Studios and Capcom struck a deal to port a game from Capcom's beloved franchise to the Nintendo 64, and in 1999, the Nintendo 64 port of the Resident Evil 2 was released. Porting a 2-disc game that was 700 megabytes in total onto a 64 megabyte cartridge was incredibly impressive for its time, especially considering that FMVs were also present. Another game that is more important to this video, and is important to the team, is Midtown Madness. A core title for the Microsoft's Madness franchise. Midtown Madness is effectively what Midnight Club would become. Frantic gameplay, driving through checkpoints. It really was a fun and a crazy title. Car handling was quick and responsive, the maps were varied and based on real locations, and the racing aspect was intense. It really was a flagship title. In fact, it was such a flagship title that the Angel Studios made one sequel. The second one, Midtown Madness 3, was made by... the Battlefield developers. Cool. Well, people found those games impressive, and it seems like a somewhat large company did as well. Rockstar seemingly found Midtown Madness impressive that they approached the team to make a game just like Midtown Madness, and the team would release their first Rockstar published game, Midnight Club. Alright, I'm going to piss the hardcore Midnight Club fans off, but man, this game isn't good. Now, it's not bad, but the game is extremely rough. I will be a bit less harsh than I would usually be, considering this game was a launch title for the PS2. This game has the same syndrome as Burnout 1. The game genuinely feels like a tech demo, and overall, a bit of a downgrade compared to Midtown Madness as well. Now, there are some improvements. The damage model is definitely good for the release year. It's not the best, but it's serviceable. Open world is honestly good. You have 2 maps, New York and London, and the maps are fairly accurate to their real-life counterparts, at least back in 2000. Additionally, the game does have a ton of shortcuts which the game does want you to rely on. The lore is also there. There are characters that you race against, and some of them have a ton of personality. Holy shit, it's Emilio.
Yo, what, your mama teach you to drive? Huh? Where you going, Perry boy? I'm coming right after you.
He's coming right after me. Emilio, I don't think I want you to come right after me. Emilio treatment. Progression is rather straightforward. You do 1 race against a rival, and then you have 2 options. You can do 2 more events to fully beat the rival, or you can call the rival for a 1v1 to unlock their cars. Each race you do has a more powerful variant of the car. Each car has 2 upgraded versions. Some might be faster, handle better, or have nitros. That's it, honestly. The game looks bland. I think that's all I can say. Granted, you can pick multiple times of the day, so you have some style. But this game genuinely just looks boring, especially compared to something like Gran Turismo 2 or Colin McRae Rally 2. Rivals function in a way where you get behind them and drive behind them till their yellow marker turns green, and then you get to drive behind them till the location of the start of the map. The annoying part is that the rivals genuinely drive way too fast and reckless for you to get to the state where he tells you the location of the race. Additionally, you have to be very precise, because if you steer away from the rival or fall behind, you're shit out of luck. He will go back to the starting point. Additionally, the state where you turn from yellow to green takes way too long. This is very noticeable in London, where the rivals in free roam mode drive around 200 km per hour, which is around the top speed that you have in that stage. Races are nothing special. There are cops, but they are really useless. Yeah, that's it honestly. The game is just not that special, aside from Emilio, which is interesting considering the fact that Angel Studios released another title for the PlayStation, and it also was a launch title, that being Smuggler's Run. Smuggler's Run is genuinely a fun title. However, this is a Midnight Club video and the best course of action would be to talk about the sequel. But before that, let me talk about Angel Studios a little bit more. Midnight Club sold around 1 million copies in its first year. That is incredibly impressive. What is pretty cool is the dynamic between Rockstar Games and Angel Studios, which was so good that at the time, head of Rockstar, Sam Houser, said that he loves Angel Studios and that he is not going to stop working with them. In 2002, the head of Angel Studios, Diego Angel, befriended both Sam and Dan Houser over a shared love for tequila. To make a long story short, Rockstar bought Angel Studios and their engine, Angel Game Engine, with the given bonus that the team would have complete creative freedom, which they used fully, and in 2003, Midnight Club 2 released. Welcome to Midnight Club 2. The definition of pain. If you're a masochist, you might consider this to be your favorite entry in the franchise. The core of the franchise is there. You have everything that the first game had. The only thing regarding that is the simple fact that the game took and improved every single aspect of the first game. Starting off, the map count has increased. You have 3 brand spanking new maps. I will split this part of the review based on the maps, as each map genuinely has something to talk about. Welcome to Los Angeles, the starting zone, and basically your training wheels for the game. You get to learn what this game is all about, and its new mechanics. Firstly, you will immediately notice that the budget for this game has increased drastically, especially in the cutscenes. Oh yeah, this game now has cutscenes for the rivals, and right off the bat, you can see that the character design is so early Rockstar, especially considering the first person you see is Moses. Moses might be your first rival, but he's also your guide for the rest of the LA run you do. But to get back to the characters and cutscenes, every character you meet has so much personality, especially in the cutscenes where you get to hear their internal monologues first,
Maybe I'll just drag him around.
and then the stuff they actually say to you.
What you got, friend? Ready to read my plates?
Some might praise you in their monologue, but do the opposite when they actually speak to you. It's such a cool design and artistic choice that I cannot not mention. One thing I will also mention is that Rockstar did not shy away at doing stereotypes. Yeah, this is one of the aspects of the game that aged kinda poorly. Each continent has its respective people of nationalities. LA has primarily North Americans, Oriental people in form of Moses and Gina, which might also either be related or acquaintances, and Mexicans with a rather explosive personality.
Stop smirking at me, boy, before you lose teeth.
Paris has the Oh, I almost threw up. The British, the French, an Italian Formula 1 racer, an Australian, for some reason, and a rather interestingly looking Algerian fugitive. The fuck has Farid been up to? Japan has surprisingly one American, and the rest are the Japanese. Once you get into the in-game world, you will notice that the presentation is so much better. From a more cleaner HUD design to a more appealing world design, the game just generally looks great. This is where you will also notice a huge change. The way you engage rivals is completely different. Instead of following them blindly until they accept the race, you'll now simply need to flash your headlights to follow them to the starting point of the race. While that still tends to take time, the lack of having to follow rivals around till they decide that you are indeed worthy to race saves so much time and is such a massive quality of life improvement. Each rival has 2 races, most of the times, and whilst the first race is an initiation race, the second one is a race for the pinks, where if you win the race, you get their car. Another quality of life improvement is the fact that the game now actually progressively unlocks the features that you will use in the form of unlocking new cars with nitros, for example, or beating a rival that unlocks Slipstream Turbo, since the rival himself is using it. It's a cool way of easing a person in when it comes to showcasing features. Slipstream Turbo is a new addition to the game, and considering it's been in every Midnight Club game afterwards, it's safe to say that it's an amazing feature. Alongside nitros, Slipstream Turbo can give you an early lead against rivals, or could really help you with the last second overtakes. To get Slipstream Turbo, you just draft a rival, which is indicated by the slipstream trails rival's car leaves behind, and once the bar on the right is full and starts flashing red, you activate it. Now this is an item that once activated can't be turned off until it runs out, so you really have to be careful where you activate it, because activating it on corners is stupid. You can also opt out to not use the turbo, and it will drain slowly instead. The core structure of the game is mostly the same. In fact, I didn't really talk about that with the previous game, did I? Ordered races are checkpoint races. You have checkpoints spread around the map, and you have to pass through them in a set order. What sets this game from, let's say, Forza Horizon is the fact that unlike in Horizon, you don't have a set road to go through to reach the checkpoint. You can go wherever you want. You can take the straightforward route that gets you to the checkpoint the fastest, at the risk of losing speed if it's a checkpoint that requires a 90-degree turn. You can take a more scenic route that will ensure that you enter that checkpoint at greater speeds. You can also take many shortcuts that the game offers. It is all up to you. Time-ordered races are also a thing. You race against a rival, and the goal is to both win the race and not run out of time. Each checkpoint gives you extra time or set a certain time per checkpoint. Some races do have set time limit to complete the race, which spices the game up a bit. Speaking of time trials are also a thing. It's basically just ordered races, but the only rival is the clock itself. Unordered races suck. What sets unordered races apart from the ordered races is the fact that any checkpoint besides the finishing checkpoint can be picked up in any order. There is some consistency in a decent amount of the unordered races where you do have some sort of a line to go with to get the best result. I mean, the whole aspect is kinda cool, but it all just devolves into picking the most optimal route, which in reality doesn't really set it too much aside from, well, the ordered races. This map additionally has a few extra modes. For example, and a bit of a spoiler warning, Hector has the first race where the cops crash the start, and your goal is to reach the goal with no heat whatsoever. With that out of the way, you have to beat a few rivals to grab the attention of the LA champion Dice. Map champions are effectively region bosses, and they are bosses for a reason. To explain, this was the first race in the game. This is Dice's first race. Yeah, the game decides that it wants to give you a bit of a difficulty spike, and you can notice it. The second race has less checkpoints, so you'd reckon that it's easier, but that's deceivingly false. Not only does rival AI decide to be much faster, the game expects you to be precise in your driving, especially considering that the checkpoints, which might seem close, are spread between each other. You will restart a few times, but once you beat it, you get to his car, and you go to Paris with Gina. Gina, well, is a rival that you do race in LA. and you seemingly impress her so much with your racing that she effectively becomes your guide and a sidekick slash friend for the rest of the game. And the first stop is Paris. Welcome to Paris, the place where you will learn what humility is. I think the most striking thing in here is just how different the map is compared to LA. LA has wide roads with no substantial elevations and traffic. Paris takes all of that and throws it out of the window. You get narrow, windy streets that are full to the brim with traffic. This is where you learn that the game is really unpredictable. You can be leading a race, only for you to experience the misery that is a one-way street with swerving traffic, and you're in the wrong lane. Of course, you will crash and lose the race. This also happens to the AI, so you could be in second or third place for the 90% of the race, only for AI to crash so hard that it takes minutes to process where the fuck it even is, and letting you effectively win the race. Thankfully, the game has a ton of underground sections that connect throughout the map. Additionally, the map also has a lot of roof areas to drive on, which really opens up the map, even more than LA. You get a ton of mileage and some really high speed opportunities considering the map is really densely packed. Traffic is genuinely the worst part of the city, as there is a ton of traffic cars and the police, which, starting with this map, stops fucking around. All I can say is that if you're driving an LA car, you're going to be in a world of pain. This is probably the best time to talk about cars, in fact. To say that Rockstar San Diego did a great job with the cars is simply an understatement. Where do I even start? Well, okay, the respect to the culture at the time was great. In fact, the level of detail the team went through was on the same level as something like Polyphony with Gran Turismo. To elaborate, each map is located all around the world. Los Angeles is set in the United States, and the car you unlock are predominantly American culture cars. You have the likenesses of Honda Civics, Integras, Volkswagen Jettas, which were surprisingly popular at the time, to name a few. Additionally, city champions drive cars that do stand out from the rest. For example, Dice drives a Dodge Viper, which is so much more distinct than the cars others drive. Now, of course, I say Dodge Viper, but reality is, cars are unlicensed. That is for the better, because the levels of destruction that this game has, well, I'm sure brands would not like whatsoever. You can wreck out cars, and during the race it does have a consequence. It doesn't end the race, but it takes a few seconds to respawn. And in a game where seconds really do matter, it can be a race kill. It can lead to restarts. Then you get to Paris, where the LA cars simply don't fit. They are too big, to be honest. Viper feels like a pig when you drive on the narrow streets. In Paris, you get to unlock more compact cars like the Ford Puma, an Escort, Renault Clio, BMW M5, which really doesn't fit the map, and of course, the Gen 3 Golf, just to name a few. You might wonder, how do the cars handle? Honestly, quite great. The cars are very grippy, and you can take rather sharp turns at high speeds. Let me talk technical engine stuff. The game is from 2003, and it's a Rockstar title. Rockstar games are known for locking physics to frame rate, and this game is no different. This game is made for 30 FPS, and whilst you won't notice that much of a difference on 60, if you play at anything about that, or Lord forbid, uncapped frame rate, you will see some issues. Higher frame rates cause, but are not limited to, quicker burnouts, lower top speeds, more fragile cars, especially while during burnouts, higher base acceleration, which you would think is good, but again, much lower top speeds, and burnout starts exist, to just name a few. I played at 60 FPS because I really do not stand 30 FPS, especially on my 144Hz monitor. Oh, and since this is a 2003 game, I have a PS5 controller. I'm playing on a keyboard. You might notice that the cars are a bit twitchy in the footage. This is simply because the game doesn't have steering smoothing on digital inputs, which means you can go from nothing to the max steering range in no time. This does help with reaction times, as you can avoid traffic much faster. Speaking of sharp turns, bikes are a new feature, and whilst they are nothing special while driving normally, the weight shifting is what really makes them stand out. Really, to gain an insane speed boost, shift your whole body to one side to make some sharp turns at higher speeds. Those alone makes bikes super competitive. Only real drawback is the fact that if you look at the fucking thing wrong, you will crash out. Any slightest touch or bump will crash you out. This also works for the AI. Keep that in mind. Oh, and you can't slipstream bikes. Cool level of detail. To get back to the story, you race a guy called Primo, a Formula 1 driver, and whilst he's probably very good in his sport, he definitely wasn't as his primo while racing me. I get rewarded with 2 cars, the M5 and the MR2, which I give to Gina. Keep that in mind. With that, I have said everything I have to say about Paris. And with that, we go to the last part of the career, and the part where the team showed that they are some massive sadists. Tokyo. Welcome to Tokyo. Hell, I'm going to show you a chart. This is the amount of time you spend playing Alien Paris. This is the amount of time you spend playing Tokyo. Oh, you're wondering what the time is after Tokyo? Don't worry, I will talk about that later. Don't stress your mind on that yet. Lord time! Gina owes money to the Yakuza. I don't know what did she do, and how the fuck did she do it. She managed to do it. But this Ricky guy was a dickhead, and we are now going to punch a dickhead.
Allow me to
Anyhow, what is there to say about Tokyo? This map is bullshit. Somehow the traffic has become more unbearable than Paris, which really is a fucking achievement considering Paris as a map sucks ass. The layout of the map is somewhat sadistic, but also amazing. Visually, it's the best looking map. Tonally, it's much more vibrant compared to the previous maps. The whole structure itself is more chaotic with a ton of roundabouts, which is surrounded by a large expressway. Now I think Rockstar San Diego tried to make the C1 loop accurate, but yeah, I don't think it's the most accurate. That being said, it's definitely for the better considering the traffic and the AI. Let's talk about the AI. I think this is where Rockstar decided that you should just simply not win. Sure, the early rivals are a bit easier, but the difficulty does ramp up. One positive is that the cars that you get here are simply amazing and iconic. You get the likeness of Mitsubishi Lancer Evo, Toyota MR2, Toyota Aristo, an insanely powerful motorbike, the 350Z, and 2 versions of the Mark IV Supra, the cool one, and the AB Flug Supra, which is the iconic cover car. Race types are mostly the same, up until you race Kenichi, which gives you a new event type. You play as a cop, and the goal is to stop other racers. Otherwise, this gets Gina off the hook. Racing the Tokyo champion is incredibly bullshit with his 4 nitros Nissan Skyline, the only car with 4 nitro shots, which is only amplified by the fact that his car is really good, and the music does not help. Oh yeah, I should talk about the music. Remember how I talked about respect to the car culture and the level of details of the car choices depending on the regions? Well, the team went and decided that they were going to be extra based, and decided to do the same thing for the music. Starting off, Los Angeles is primarily hip-hop and house music, and for the start of the game, the music pacing is calm and slow-paced. This is what I like to call the deceivingly picked library. Los Angeles, and in this case, the game, starts off with the Midnight Club theme, and ends with the Midnight Club 2 song. Yes, Midnight Club 2 is the name of the song. There are a dozen of other songs, and songs like G's Up, Put Your Top Down, Let's Go, which is also the winning theme, are genuine bangers. Escaping Sao Paulo's start is an experience that I cannot comprehend nor explain. The rest of the song? Amazing. Here's a cool fact. When you are following the rival, a short instrumental loop of the song plays, which is honestly really cool since the songs are good. They do generally tend to hype you up. France is electronic music that ranges from house to trance. This is easily my favorite section of the game, music-wise. The game features some large names like Felix the House Cat, which also appeared in Need for Speed, and Thomas Bangalter, that also appeared, well, as the other guy in this small band called Daft Punk. Seriously, this game has some S-tier songs. Some are a bit goofy like Outrun and Turbo, however, it has some of the greatest songs like It's Good For You to Meet People Like Us, Rococo, and Silver Screen, just to name a few. In fact, I did wanted to use Silver Screen as an intro, but YouTube decided, nah, I'm gonna kill you instead. Japan is what I like to call hell music. Trance and acid techno kicks in, and boy does it kick. You have some smoother songs like Elements of Trance, but you also have something like Brain 29. Now here's something to know about Japan's music. The more you progress through Japan, the more aggressive the songs get. And this all culminates with the world champion, Sabo. Anyone that played and completed Midnight Club 2 tend to get goosebumps when Sabo gets brought up. That is for a very good reason. Sabo drives the Celine S7, easily the fastest car in the game. He's not the only one that drives the S7, so on that fact alone, you are in for a hell of a run. Now let me show you the first race against Moses in Midnight Club, and its layout. Here is Sabo's last race in Los Angeles. Oh yeah, Sabo is a world champion, which means that you have to do 2 races per country. 6 races of super strong AI, and that's just the rivals. The traffic is cranked up to 11. You will crash a lot, and you will restart a lot. When it comes to difficulty, the first Tokyo race is the second hardest race in the game. It has a ton of twists and turns, and you really gotta utilize shortcuts and master jumping ramps, so you don't fall in water and auto-fail. Otherwise, restart, because you're simply shit out of luck. The hardest race is the first Paris race. It's an unordered race. Not only do you need to find the perfect line, you need to do that in a very quick car, with the traffic so heavy that you will crash into a traffic car and derail the plan. There is no way around it. You really need to be on your S++ game for this race. I am derailing slightly as I forgot to mention a cool aspect of the rivals. They also talk to you during the races, and they are done really well. They will comment you on hitting them, the pedestrians, the walls, your position, airtime, just to mention some. The reaction that they give out are usually in the more aggressive tone or actually compliment you. Sabo does none of that. He spews insults at you that aren't as threatening as something like Kenichi telling me that he will kill me, but rather melancholic. They are straight out insults like,
You are horrible! Come on, asswipe! Boring! Idiot! Confidence leads to complacency. Complacency leads to weakness.
The races are ball-bustingly hard, and of course, each restart you do, each crash you do, you will get more nervous and tense. And Rockstar decided that that alone simply is not enough. They decided to crank that stress meter to 11 with the addition of Brain 30. This song is the embodiment of a panic attack while on crack. The fast tempo of the beat, the electronic music equivalent of electrocuting yourself, the high pitch, ear-piercing tones, it all culminates into this mix that simply makes you even more stressed out than you should be. And my god, I am so glad it's in, because if there's a theme for the final boss in a racing game, this is the only option. Thankfully Gina is here to cheer you on, to calm you down a bit, before you start to hear Brain 30 again. Beating Sawa was the most intense experience ever. It was also amazing. It's over. It's never been so much more over. Unless I can do this. Kiss my ass! This game was a massive success. It sold like hotcakes, and it showed other companies that the new champion is in town. The lowest score for this game was 75% by Playboy, which stated that the controls were very touchy and imprecise. 1. Yes, that Playboy was seemingly reviewing games. 2. Of course they would say something was touchy. Out of all Midnight Club games, this is definitely my favorite title. The game is honestly a great racing game, and for its time it was the best in the class. Nothing came close to beating it. For a few months. Fast and Furious was the first piece of media where the tuner car culture was shown to the mainstream public. The second piece of media that hit the mainstream was Need for Speed Underground, which released mere 6 months after Midnight Club 2's release. To say that Underground revolutionized street racing games is an understatement. The racing at the time was unrivaled. The black box handling where the cars are controllable, but not fully, was amazing. But that is only one small part of the game. Underground was known for its, at the time, insane performance and visual customization. You had a ton of body kits, a complete tuning freedom. Seriously, this game had it all. And Underground 2 took it to another level when it came to visual customization, with stuff like the hydraulics, trunk customization, spinners on rails, split hoods, scissors and reverse opening doors, just to name a few. Additionally, Underground and Underground 2 also broke boundaries with the music aspect. EA Tracks, which was EA's massive radio offering of licensed music, was an incredible addition that genuinely made the games feel extra special. Each game had some huge bands at the time that were extra memorable to the point where you can go to a certain song on YouTube and you will see comments mentioning the game it's associated with. Thanks to that, Need for Speed games were smash hits, with Underground 1 and Most Wanted being the most sold Need for Speed titles ever made. Rockstar San Diego then decided to simply make a better game, that being Midnight Club 3. Welcome to Midnight Club 3, the game that actively trolls the player every chance it gets. But before I talk about that, I do have to say, this is an incredible game. Seriously, the improvements that this game has brought are huge. It just doesn't fully click with me. It's not that I hate it, I like it honestly, but this is definitely not my favorite Midnight Club title. This game, campaign-wise, is a total shift compared to the previous two games. The cutscenes are now fully rendered, instead of just character close-ups. You have actual production with full 3D models of cars, garages, and most importantly people, and the quality itself is also much greater. I do miss the monologues, but this is a welcome change. The game now takes place in the US only. You have 3 cities, San Diego, Atlanta, and Detroit. Starting off in San Diego, and right away you will notice a couple of things. Firstly, racing is now more simplified. Rivals do exist, but instead of earning pink slip, you earn cash. Yes, you now have to buy cars. The game starts off fairly stingy, but later down the line it stops being a problem. Now, there are progression-based races, which are mostly racers and tournaments, and there are races that you enter to purely get cash. There are also class-locked events. I'm going to expand a bit more on a few of these now. Progression-based What do you mean, will I address the elephant in the room? Oh yeah, so the cover song that the game uses for the main menu, and what I have used for the intro of the video, is Real Big by Manny Fresh. And the start of the song goes, Cars Real Big. Rockstar decided that they were going to build around that because the game has an impressive collection of cars. 69 cars to be more specific. Nice. Actually 94 with the remix edition. And yeah, they are licensed cars as well. You genuinely have cool brands like Mercedes, Volkswagen, McLaren, Saleen, Mitsubishi, Mazda, Kimbala, and Lotus, just to name a few. One drawback is that with licensed cars, you simply lost the ability to run over people. I'ma go out on a limb and say that car manufacturers probably didn't want to see their cars pulverize people. Another slight drawback is that the damage model has taken a slight setback. Whilst it's still impressive, you can't really drive a car that is on fire anymore. To get back to cars, each car is separated into classes, and there are 7 car types. You have tuners, exotics, muscles, choppers, SUVs, luxury cars, and sports bikes. Now that is impressive. What is even more impressive is the fact that all of the cars are tunable. And at the time, the game cleared Need for Speed Underground. Performance tuning was, I'd say, on par, but visual? Yeah, Midnight Club 3 clears. Now sure, Need for Speed Underground 2 has more parts and stuff like trunk tuning, but Midnight Club simply aged better. Sure, there are still some goofy stuff like spinners, but the rest, yeah, shit looks better and baller for a good reason. Whilst Underground has purely fictional parts, Midnight Club 3 uses actual licensed parts, for the most part. There are some unlicensed stuff, but they went that one extra mile because Rockstar is just chill like that. Customization is effectively on par with Need for Speed Underground. Wheels is where it completely changes. You can set the rim size, and that is the only thing that is similar to Need for Speed. You can change the tire profile, the car height, and you can really slam a car, or very importantly, the tire thickness. Now why is that important? Well, thickness affects grip. Drive wheels should be thicker than the non-drive wheels. The tuning is epic, and goddamn, I almost wouldn't take it any other way. To get back to racing, there are progression-based races, which are effectively races against rivals. They effectively unlock parts, cars, and well, progress through the game. First change is a simple fact that once you engage a rival, you don't follow the rival anymore. You now race the rival to the starting point. Honestly, a welcome change. Once you beat enough progression-based races, you get a tournament. You get 3 races, and once you complete those, you progress to a new map. Dub Edition tournaments are cool. They don't really progress through the game, but you get new cars. Race types have stayed the same. You have ordered races, unordered races, a single point race where you go from one point of the map to the other. A new addition is a closed circuit race. It's self-explanatory, there ain't no checkpoints, and walls are there to contain you. Class-locked events are cool. They start off by giving you more cash than regular races, but after a bit, you unlock class-based abilities. Oh yeah, this game does have abilities. Abilities are used to gain advantage over the rivals. You have Zone, an ability that slows down time and gives you extra grip. It's effectively Speed Breaker that Most Wanted had, but before Most Wanted. Tuner cars, exotic cars, and sports bikes can use those. Yeah, the abilities are class locked, which is a cool feature. It gives you purpose to drive every class effectively. Aggro effectively turns you into an unstoppable force with no immovable objects in sight. You simply can kill everyone. SUVs and sedans can use aggro. Roar is powerful. Roar pushes away the traffic and rivals. It's just a shame that it's locked behind shit classes. Well, okay, excluding Chopper, a shit class, the muscle cars. Why are they shit? Well, it's because of the Midnight Club 3's handling is an acquired taste. Terminal oversteer and understeer can be used as a perfect description. Cars slide like crazy. Seriously, the grippiness that Midnight Club 2 had is simply gone, and is replaced with a more drift-oriented handling. Now is it bad? No, not really. The more you play the game, the more you'll get the hang of the handling, and realistically, classes do tend to matter. Bikes, for example, have little to no sliding. Exotic and tuner cars have the most grip. Muscle cars are fast when it comes to acceleration, but bad when it comes to steering. And luxury cars, as well as the SUVs, are just boats. You can control the cars, but just barely. A lack of controllability is also tied to the map design. The maps were mostly made with drifting and sliding in mind, and the amount of shortcuts that you have is massively varied. San Diego is the starter map and it's quite easy. It was designed with new players perfectly, everything is wide, corners are fast and easy, and driving is seamless. The AI isn't too hard. Hell, the franchise doesn't even use rubber banding. Same thing can also kinda be said with Atlanta. Sure, the layout is a little bit more complex, and the bad weather can get annoying, especially with the increased traffic. It's still mostly a fun experience. Then you get to Detroit.
Kitchen's amazing, man. The best part about this house is I got this thing for like $20,000.
Oh, no!
What?
Nope.
What?
Detroit fucking sucks. AI decides to stop fucking around, considerably. Yeah, for some reason the difficulty scale kinda turns into a difficulty slope. What also doesn't help is the traffic. But shit, that's not even the worst aspect of the game. Bad weather in other maps is rain, and whilst rain kinda sucks, the grip loss is not that bad. Detroit has snow. Jesus Christ, it blows. It really makes already frustrating races hell. Yeah, you'll spend most of the times in this fucking map purely just cause it sucks. But hey, it's accurate to the real life counterpart. Mine is getting robbed at every other street. Thankfully, this game offsets that by complete banger songs. Oh boy, where do I start? Okay, I will start with the negatives. This game has multiple genres. I will talk about the rest of them later, don't worry about it. Dancehall just kinda doesn't fit with the game. I know, personal taste for sure, but I just think that you have such better options, and one part where Rockstar kinda dropped the ball is the fact that unlike in EA tracks, you can't just disable music. That is all of the negatives really. There is around 90 songs in the game. Well okay, more with the remix edition, but around 80% of those songs were actual bangers. Seriously, the songs that play are amazing. The loading themes are also sick. The licensed songs are where the meat and potatoes are. You have hip hop, and the songs in there are amazing. Almost every single song is a banger. I can't really play any of those, but you heard one of them in the intro. You had artists like T.I., The Game, Lil Wayne, Fabulous, Twista, just to name a few. Rock has straight out bangers. From Jimmy Eat World to Kasabian, Block Party, Queens of the Stone Age, 9 Inch Nails when they were good, okay, not him, and Morningwood, just to name a few. Techno has also great stuff, and you had his unrelated relative, Mr. Day. Drum and bass is the shit though, and I think easily the person that carried the DNB playlist was Calyx. Seriously, the work that they have done was on another level. With that, that's actually it. There was a DLC version of the game, Remix Edition, that gave you a ton of cars and brings the Midnight Club 2's Tokyo map with its own career. Pretty cool. That being said, I do like this game. It's just that gameplay wise it was only a minor improvement compared to the previous title, and frankly some of the changes just kinda made the game worse, like the lack of voice lines during races and generally worse handling. Now, don't get me wrong, Midnight Club 2's formula was amazing, so minor improvements isn't that bad, but still, this is not my favorite title, or even my second favorite title. The next title is my favorite title sometimes. There is most likely a reason to why Midnight Club 3 just didn't click with me that much, though, as it wasn't the only product that was developed by San Diego at the time. You see, Angel Game Engine was good, however it was not the primary engine that Rockstar used. Rockstar used Renderware for their big hitters like Grand Theft Auto titles. Renderware was made by Criterion, same Criterion that made the Burnout titles. In 2004, Criterion got bought out by EA, and at the same time, Renderware was also bought. Of course, having a good engine being owned by a rival company is very subpar, so Rockstar decided to open Rage Technology Group, which was a division of Rockstar San Diego. That engine was in production alongside Midnight Club 3, and in 2006, Rockstar's Advanced Game Engine, or Rage as people know it, released. Or well, since it's Rockstar's own engine, games using it released. And the first game was Table Tennis. Okay, Rockstar Presents Table Tennis was effectively a tech demo that San Diego made as a showcase. It looked stunning for its time, but reality was, Rockstar San Diego was making another game that was going to utilize the full potential of the engine, and the second Rage game that released was the Grand Theft Auto 4. Midnight Club Los Angeles was the third game that used the Rage engine. To say that San Diego used the Rage engine to its fullest is an understatement. They went fucking hard. The moment you boot up the game, you'll see how well crafted the game is. Main menu shows parts of the LA map, which then zoom out to show the whole damn Los Angeles map. Then you get into a cutscene. This is the only pre-rendered cutscene in the game. Every consequent cutscene is in-game. Oh, and first for the franchise, you get to see the main character, Matthew. Yes, his name is Matthew, and you would only know that if you played the PSP version of LA, which I will slightly touch upon. The core is still the same. You race cars through checkpoints, you tune cars. That's where the similarities end. First huge noticeable change is, well, you can see it. The game simply looks amazing. The Rage engine at the time was visually unmatched. Alongside that, the game has a metric ton of details. For example, the game uses a dynamic traffic system, where depending on the time of day, you will have either more or less traffic, making your races potentially easier or harder. Oh yeah, this game gets rid of the midnight in Midnight Club, as it has a day-night cycle, and for the most part, it's amazing. Seriously, Rockstar has such an ability to make amazing looking skyboxes, especially at dawn and dusk, and Midnight Club LA is no different. Nights are also amazing as the game's buildings are colorful, especially the west section near the coast. Day is the weakest out of the bunch. That being said, daytime still looks sick as the game doesn't really use a ton of that mid-2000s piss filter. Additionally, Reign of Daytime looks amazing. Seriously, the darker color tone, the higher contrast boosting the reflections, which by the way are amazing, just makes the game a visual spectacle. Only flaw with the day-night cycle is the fact that on dusk and dawn, the traffic cars can turn off the lights, so the visibility of the traffic gets quite poor. The second thing that you will immediately notice is the fact that Rockstar really went out with the cutscenes and the voice acting.
We ain't got time for you. No, you guys seem too busy cuddling.
Whoa, hold on. I'll take your car. If you're really desperate to give it away, I'm the man.
So now what does that make you?
Get out of here.
Sorry to break up your day, fellas.
Seriously, every character has, well, a ton of character. Book is an asshole.
Nice ride. Not bad. Who'd you steal it off of?
You!
Matthew is a really smartass for better or worse. Carol is genuinely the second star of the game.
In money, not in favors, not in girls, not in parties, in money. Hold on, your friend just show up. I'll call you back. Bye.
He owns 2 garages in LA, Hollywood Auto and the Beaches. He is a founder of Flame Records, and he has time to drink and drive. Seriously, this man, and more accurately the actor behind Carol, genuinely did a terrific job at being a rather batshit insane Russian. The other great aspect of the voice acting is the fact that rival interactions have returned. The game has a ton of rivals, and each rival has a decent bit of dialogue, no matter if it's a larger character like Carol, or someone named Joe. And with Matthew, our protagonist, it's not one-sided interactions anymore. He will respond to anything. Seriously, from insult comebacks at the beginning of a race to you hitting other rivals. This level of interaction is incredibly detailed. Cutscenes have that Rockstar sheen to it. You know what I'm talking about. The writing, whilst a little bit serious, has a comedy mixed in it that only Rockstar can really pull off. It's amazing. Before I talk about racing and the game itself, I just have to talk about the music. I think out of all Midnight Club titles, hell, maybe even racing games in general, Midnight Club LA has the best ratio of songs that fit the game and are good. Seriously, out of 80 plus songs, more with the DLC, there are like maybe 1 or 2 songs that just kinda don't fit. Even the lighter toned songs like Looking Fly go hard when you're going 140 plus miles per hour. The amount of genres have also increased, cause why not? There are the usuals, rock, hip hop and techno, but alongside that you get hard rock, electronic, West Coast rap, and eclectic, which has probably my favorite artists and songs, that being Danny Bird with Red Mist, deadmau5 with the Oshawa Connection, Hyper with Replica, Marcus Kensel with Dandelion, and not to forget, The Chemists with Stompbox. Motorstorm Pacific Rift fellas, rise up, am I right? Another amazing feature is the fact that you can add songs to a playlist. So if you have some songs you dislike, you can simply ignore them. For me that was not a problem, since I genuinely liked almost all of the songs. I think it's time I actually talk about the, the racing aspect of the game. Yeah, it fucks. Let me talk negatively about the game for a little bit. The difficulty is disappointing. Originally, the game launched with much harder AI, and people complained. The game was patched early on to reduce the difficulty of AI and increase the time limit to time trials. The complete edition of the game that I used has the easier difficulty. Whilst I had some intense races due to me having occasional driving skill issues, for the most part, the game was fairly easy. Car list is weaker. The game has in total 67 playable cars, well, 46 at launch. That is a decent cut compared to Midnight Club 3's offering. Car damage is also considerably worse. Okay, now onto the good aspects of the game. The car list might be weaker, but my god is it for a good reason. Firstly, every car has an interior. Yep, every car in the game has a very detailed interior. You even have a working odometer, which is something that even the HUD doesn't have. Secondly, and more importantly, visual customization is also responsible for that. Okay, let's talk about tuning. First thing that you will immediately notice is the fact that there are less body kits that you can pick. And whilst that is true, unlike in Midnight Club 3, each car has its own design kit, and isn't reusing the design for multiple cars. Additionally, a ton of the kits are licensed. Visual customization has stayed the same since the last game, but is now more detailed. You can customize brake rims and calipers, scissor doors can now be bought, you can buy wide body kits, and of course, with the introduction of interiors, you can customize it fully. Yes, I said fully. You can do obvious stuff like seats and steering wheels, but you can also change the color of the interior itself or the dash lights, and even add neon. Seriously, Rockstar went out of their way to make the visual customization amazing. Oh, and decal customization? S tier. Now, I'm not an artist, but it was unmatched at the time. Unlocking the visual parts is interesting. Car classes have 5 ranks. Each rank that you complete unlocks new visual upgrades. Now, since it's class-based, you can't use a tuner car and expect to have upgrades for muscle cars. You need to drive each class to really earn those parts. Abilities are now unlocked. That is both a good thing and a bad thing, as you have complete freedom to pick any ability you want on any car. This does also kinda kill the need to drive a car class, which is a bit unfortunate as I liked switching to an aggro car in MC3 when I was pissed off. New ability, EMP, got added, and it's definitely a very good ability. Once you fill it up by driving cleanly, which you also now do for every other ability, you can unleash a shockwave that will temporarily stun rivals. I used it for the most of the game, as it was as good as Roar, if not better personally. Map. Yeah, it's not maps anymore, it's just map. LA is the only map that you play in, and whilst the map reduction is suboptimal, it is easily offset by its size. With the South Central DLC, you get a huge map. From a technical standpoint, the map is as big as the previous 3 maps from Midnight Club 3 combined, and the fact that you do not have any loading screens is insane. The map is incredibly dense, and there are a lot of 90-degree turns. The hills area is very cool as it has actual curves and isn't just 90-degree turns. Shortcuts make a return, and this game has a metric ton of them, with a new addition that most of the shortcuts are now marked on the map. Some shortcuts are still hidden, and if you find them, you will gain an impressive advantage. Additionally, there are checkpoint affecting shortcuts, where if you hit a shortcut that is way behind the checkpoint, you will trigger the checkpoint. Now, pulling shortcuts in Midnight Club 3 were a bit clusterfucky because of the handling. This game frankly does not have that issue, because the handling is actually quite good. I do have to be honest and say that I didn't really like the handling when I first played the game, and replayed it for this video. Now some might say, is it because of the drift-oriented handling? And whilst I would have said yes, the reality is that I just had a severe case of a skill issue. You see, whilst the handling is definitely a bit understeery, even if you visually look like you are drifting, and even though the handling tends to be a bit sluggish, I simply cannot say that those are issues if you just use a cool mechanic and tune the car. You see, tuning the car performance-wise is great, until you find out that springs and sway bar performance upgrades actually make your car slower. Yep, those upgrades make you exit out of the corners at slower speeds. Additionally, visual customization is purely cosmetic, except for the wheels. You see, just like in Midnight Club 3, tire width matters. You want your drive wheels to have a bit wider tires than your non-drive wheels. But you also have to be rational. If you have too wide wheels, you actually lose grip. Those settings alone tend to improve the cornering ability a lot. However, I didn't talk about the downshift mechanic. Now, I am a casual. I drive a manual IRL, and when I game, I tend to relax and not listen to engine sounds, and instead listen to conversation or the music. So playing games in manual is simply not an option for me, especially in a controller, and with ADHD most of the times, I simply forget the downshift, which is ironic, because I like doing that IRL. Most games kinda blow when it comes to automatic gearboxes. For example, Tokyo Extreme Racer 3 is known for having a hilariously bad auto gearbox, where the car shifts up 1 to 2000 RPMs before. Most games tend to struggle at corners, where you can lose a ton of RPM and the game simply doesn't downshift, even if you do release the gas pedal for a short bit. Midnight Club LA introduced a cool feature where if your car is simply in the low RPMs, but not too low, where the game automatically downshifts, you can downshift yourself by effectively releasing the gas button for a very short bit. On straight roads it's not useful. In corners, however, it effectively makes you exit out of those corners at higher speeds and at slightly tighter angles. I'm serious when I say this, that mechanic has genuinely made me go from hating the handling model to thinking it's the best in the franchise. The progression is split into reputation ranks. You have 13 ranks, with each rank unlocking either class-based performance upgrades or a new class of cars. Additionally, around the same time, tournaments unlock. Now, unlike in Midnight Club 3, this game has 2 types of tournaments. Best of 3 tournaments, where the main goal is to have the most points at the end of the event, and first to 3 tournaments, where the main goal is to win 3 times first. It's honestly a cool way to spice up the tournaments and make them not feel samey. Additionally, dub tournaments return, where if you win a tournament on hard difficulty, you get a free dub car. Normal races consist of ordered races and unordered races, which thankfully can be effectively ignored throughout the playthrough. Fuck unordered races, all my homies hate unordered races. There are time trials, where if you beat the time record 3 times you win a car. Red light races, which are effectively races where you go from one end of the map to the other. You can also race back to the starting point. That is all when it comes to normal races. Los Angeles is the first game where you get to become a delivery boy. After playing the game for a bit, Carl calls you to give you some delivery missions, where you need to deliver the cars to the customers in time without wrecking the car. Delivery missions are the worst, and whilst I'd like to never do those missions, you're only thankfully forced to complete them twice. Payback is effectively you just playing Flat Out 2, where the goal is to wreck out people that have ripped off Carol. Whilst the pay is shit, the event type is genuinely fun, as you can relieve your frustrations on some unsuspecting drivers. Now for the fun ones. Pink slip races are hard. AI seemingly does not want to lose their cars, and they will go very fast. This in return makes those events super tense. If you lose your car, the rival that won your pink slip will use that car to race you back for the pink slip. Pretty cool mechanic. Wager races is the best event in the game. Now, I'm a gambler, so I love gambling my life savings, and with Midnight Club LA and its slightly harder AI and a ton of traffic, I get to feel super happy when I win a wager, and I get to feel devastated when I lose one, and watch my bank account dry up. Motorbikes are OP, so if I ever do get to have little money, I just go to Santa Monica and major max amount of cash, which by the way scales based on your rank, and beat the shit out of the Mustang rival, cause it's a Mustang. That shit is unstable unlike a superbike. At this point, where every event type gets introduced, you might notice a flaw with the map. Since you're still early to mid-game, cars really don't go above 160 miles per hour, and the events are spread across the map, so there's a non-0% chance of you having to go from one end of the map to the other. Once you reach sports and hypercars, it becomes less of an annoyance, but nevertheless, if it wasn't for the race editor, also functioning as pseudo fast travel, I feel like I'd have a best worst time with this game. And with that, this is it when it comes to this game. It really did perfect the formula, and made one of the greatest games in the franchise, and I do mean that. There was a PSP port, LA Remix, which used Midnight Club 2's Los Angeles map, with the addition of Midnight Club 3's Tokyo map. In Tokyo, you also get to figure out that the main character name is Matthew, because the console versions do not reveal that whatsoever. Visually, the game is impressive looking for the PSP, and the fact that they crammed so much content into Midnight Club 3 engine is pretty cool. I tend to say that Midnight Club 2 is my favorite in the franchise. The reality is that both Midnight Club 2 and this game are so good that I really have a hard time picking one over another. I genuinely think that this is my favorite out of the bunch, but only by an incredibly tiny bit. And it's a shame that this game was one of the reasons why the franchise died. You see, the other reason why this game died was Obama. Well, okay, not at all, but you see, 2008 was effectively when the worldwide recession started. Games sold less that year overall, and Midnight Club LA was no exception. Pair that with no marketing, extremely troubled development as the game got delayed twice, and Rockstar San Diego wanted to do nothing with the franchise as it wasn't a financial success that Rockstar was expecting. That and Rockstar San Diego made Red Dead Redemption, which sold much more, so there's that. This leaves us here, the end of the road, as Rockstar is unwilling to make another Midnight Club. Because why would they put eggs into multiple baskets when they have one gigantic basket, that being GTA 5? Yeah, GTA 5 was a monumental success, and its online aspect brought so much money with shark cards that the team really doesn't need to make a game that isn't GTA in a long time. At least the franchise ended on a high note, which I guess is cool. With that, I think it's time to wrap up the video. I have to give a shout out to YouTube members, thanks guys for getting fleeced, those being Anthro Gearhead and Envy Fen. With that, I'll see you all in the next video. See y'all pimps.